Hi there, and welcome back to the garden. I'm Eleanor. Before we begin, tell me down in the comments, is your home more of a sleek, modern, clean-line style, or something more traditional? I ask because today's video is especially for those of you drawn to that crisp, contemporary look, the kind of front yard that feels architectural and intentional rather than soft and cottage-like. Here's something I find genuinely exciting about rock gardens, and I hope you will too. They represent one of the smartest, most sustainable ways to garden in a changing climate. By combining beautiful stone, gravel, and carefully chosen low-water plants, you get a front yard that looks strikingly modern and sculptural, while using a fraction of the water a traditional lawn and flower bed would demand. It's not a compromise between beauty and practicality. It's genuinely both at once. And rock gardens have a wonderful design secret at their heart. The stone and gravel themselves do so much of the visual work. A rock garden doesn't need to be densely planted to look finished and complete. The interplay of texture between smooth or rugged stone and carefully placed plants with breathing room between them is exactly what creates that clean, modern, gallery-like feeling. Less really can be more here. So today I'm sharing 10 plants that thrive in a rock garden setting. Tough, sculptural, low-water plants that pair beautifully with stone and gravel. And do stay to the very end, because our last plant brings a soft, silvery texture that ties the whole design together. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and if you love a striking, modern, low-water yard, tap that subscribe button. It truly helps this little channel grow. All right, let's build your modern rock garden. Let's begin with the plant that does the most essential job in any rock garden, softening the hard edges of stone with a living carpet, creeping thyme. This low, mat-forming herb hugs the ground so closely that it's practically two-dimensional, spreading between stones, tumbling over rock edges, and filling the gaps between pavers with a dense, fragrant carpet of tiny leaves. In late spring to summer, it covers itself in a haze of small purple, pink, or white flowers, and crushing or walking on the foliage releases a wonderful herbal fragrance, a lovely sensory bonus that few other ground covers offer. Creeping thyme is genuinely built for exactly the harsh, dry, well-drained conditions a rock garden provides. It thrives in full sun and lean, gravelly soil, and it's remarkably drought-tolerant once established, needing almost no supplemental water. For your design, tuck it into the gaps between larger rocks and pavers, or let it spill over the edge of a raised stone bed, where its low, spreading habit softens the hardscape beautifully without competing with your taller specimen plants. My tip: choose a variety specifically bred to tolerate light foot traffic if you're planting it between stepping stones on a path. Those varieties handle occasional steps far better than ornamental-only types, and they'll release that lovely fragrance every time someone walks through. Fragrant, low, and softening the stone beautifully, creeping thyme is your rock garden's living mortar. Now let's add some cool blue texture and movement with number 2. Number 2 brings a striking pop of cool, silvery blue color and fine texture in a perfectly rock garden-scaled little grass, blue fescue. This compact ornamental grass forms neat, tidy, spiky little mounds of intensely blue-silver foliage, staying a modest size that fits perfectly among stones without ever overwhelming the composition. That cool blue color is genuinely unusual in the plant world, and it creates a wonderful contrast against warm-toned stone, gravel, or terracotta, giving a rock garden real sophistication. Some varieties send up delicate, airy seed heads in summer that catch the light beautifully. As a true rock garden native in spirit, it's tough and drought-tolerant, thriving in full sun and lean, well-drained, even rocky soil, where richer soil would actually cause it to grow floppy and lose that tidy form. For your design, plant it in small groups scattered among your stones for repeated pops of blue, or use it as a border along a gravel path, where its compact size and striking color read beautifully at close range. My tip: blue fescue can look a bit tired and brown in the center after a couple of years. When that happens, simply divide the clump in spring, discard the dead center, and replant the healthy outer sections for fresh, vigorous new mounds. Cool, sculptural, and perfectly scaled. Blue fescue adds sophisticated color to the stone. Now let's add a low, colorful, spreading succulent with number 3. Number 3 brings vivid, ever-changing color right down at ground level, spreading beautifully among your stones. Dragon's blood sedum. This low, mat-forming succulent, quite different from the taller autumn joy sedum we've discussed before, hugs the ground closely, its small, fleshy leaves shifting through the seasons from blue-green to deep burgundy red, especially intensifying in cooler weather and fuller sun. In summer, it's topped with clusters of small, starry, rosy red flowers that the bees adore. That name, dragon's blood, captures exactly the deep, rich red tones this little plant can take on. Being a succulent, it stores water in those fleshy leaves, making it exceptionally drought-tolerant. Genuinely one of the toughest, most forgiving plants you can tuck into a rock garden, thriving on neglect in full sun and lean, gravelly, fast-draining soil. For your design, let it spread and spill over the edge of a raised stone bed or between larger rocks, where its low, colorful carpet fills gaps beautifully without ever needing to be trimmed back. My tip, it roots easily from broken pieces, so if a stem breaks off while you're working nearby, simply tuck it into a bare gap in the soil. More often than not, it will root and spread on its own, filling in your rock garden for free. Colorful, spreading, and thriving on neglect, Dragon's Blood Sedum is a rock garden workhorse. Now let's add a Mediterranean shrub built for exactly these conditions, with number 4. Number 4 brings a true Mediterranean rock garden classic, with delicate, papery blooms that look almost too delicate for how tough this plant really is. Rock rose or cistus, this compact, evergreen shrub produces masses of large, crinkled, papery flowers, most commonly in white or soft pink, often with a dramatic dark blotch at the base of each petal, that look remarkably like wild single roses despite being an entirely unrelated plant. Each individual bloom lasts only a day, but the shrub produces such an abundance of buds that it stays in flower for weeks through late spring and early summer, a beautiful, ever-renewing display. True to its Mediterranean origins, rock rose is exceptionally drought and heat tolerant, thriving in exactly the hot, dry, rocky, poor soil conditions that would defeat most flowering shrubs. It's genuinely built for a rock garden's harshest, sunniest spots. For your design, use it as a substantial flowering anchor among your stones, giving it room to spread into its natural, rounded form, ideally in the hottest, most exposed part of your rock garden, where it will be perfectly happy. My tip, resist the urge to give it rich soil or extra water once established. Like so many Mediterranean natives, rock rose performs best and lives longest when treated with genuine benign neglect in lean, sharply drained soil. Delicate blooms, tough Mediterranean roots, rock rose thrives where others struggle. Now let's add real architectural drama with a striking succulent with number 5. Number 5 brings bold, sculptural, unmistakably modern drama to a rock garden, and it's tougher than most people realize, hardy agave. While many agave species are strictly warm climate plants, several cold-hardy varieties can genuinely thrive in a much wider range of gardens, bringing that striking, architectural, almost sculptural rosette form. Thick, pointed, often blue-gray leaves radiating outward in a perfect geometric pattern that instantly reads as modern and intentional. A single, well-placed agave becomes an immediate focal point, exactly the kind of bold, structural statement piece a rock garden design calls for. It demands full sun and, above almost everything else, excellent drainage. Agave's roots will rot quickly in soil that holds moisture, so a true rock garden setting with sharp gravel or stone-amended soil is exactly the environment it needs to thrive. For your design, use it as a genuine focal point. Remember our design principle about choosing one strong anchor, positioned where its bold form can be admired from the street. My tip? Those pointed leaf tips can be quite sharp, so plant hardy agave away from walkways and anywhere children play, giving its dramatic form room to be admired safely from a comfortable distance. Bold, architectural, and surprisingly hardy, agave brings sculptural drama to the modern rock garden. Now let's add a genuinely surprising cold-tolerant cactus with number 6. Number 6 might be the most surprising plant on this entire list, because so many gardeners assume cacti only belong in the desert southwest. Prickly pear cactus, or opuntia. Here's the genuine surprise. Certain prickly pear species are remarkably cold-hardy, capable of surviving winters far colder than most people expect from a cactus, which makes this a genuinely viable, unexpected choice for many more rock gardens than you'd think. It forms flattened, paddle-shaped segments in blue-green, and in early summer, it produces the most stunning silky flowers, typically in vivid yellow or magenta, followed by colorful edible fruits in many varieties. That combination of true desert cactus texture and genuinely surprising cold tolerance makes it a real conversation starter in a rock garden. It demands full sun and exceptionally sharp drainage, thriving in lean, gravelly, rocky soil and genuinely resenting anything richer or moister. For your design, use it as a striking, unexpected texture element among your stones, giving it room to spread its paddle segments and positioned thoughtfully away from paths given its spines. My tip: handle prickly pear with thick gloves and long tongs when planting or dividing, since even the small, nearly invisible glochids, tiny hair-like spines, can be quite irritating to bare skin. Genuinely surprising. Cold-hardy and true desert texture, prickly pear proves cacti belong in more gardens than you'd think. Now let's add a low structural evergreen with number 7. Number 7 brings low, dense, year-round evergreen structure to your rock garden in exactly the compact scale the setting calls for. Dwarf Mugo pine. This slow-growing conifer forms a low, dense, mounding shape, covered in short, dark green needles, staying handsomely compact for many years, exactly the kind of scaled-down evergreen presence that gives a rock garden structure and year-round green without ever overwhelming the smaller plants around it. Unlike a full-size pine tree, dwarf Mugo pine stays genuinely proportional to a rock garden setting, providing that essential evergreen backbone we've talked about in earlier videos, just at a much smaller scale. It thrives in full sun and, true to the rock garden theme, tolerates poor, rocky, well-drained soil beautifully, needing very little supplemental water once established. For your design, use it as a low, structural anchor among your stones, giving your rock garden year-round green presence even in the depths of winter when your flowering perennials have gone dormant. My tip: if you'd like to keep it especially compact and tight, you can candle prune it in late spring, snapping back about half of the fresh new growth candles by hand before the needles fully expand, which keeps the whole plant dense and slow-growing for years. Low, dense, and evergreen, dwarf Mugo pine gives your rock garden year-round structure. Now let's add a cheerful, spreading spring classic with number 8. Number 8 brings one of the most cheerful, classic rock garden plants there is, smothering itself in brilliant gold each spring, basket of gold, or Orinia saxatilis. This low, spreading perennial forms mounds of soft, silvery gray foliage, and in spring it erupts into such a dense covering of tiny, brilliant golden yellow flowers that the foliage disappears almost entirely beneath the color. Genuinely one of the most eye-catching spring displays a rock garden can offer. That combination of soft silver foliage and vivid gold bloom is a true rock garden classic, beloved by generations of gardeners for exactly this reason. It thrives in full sun and lean, well-drained, even rocky soil, and it's remarkably drought-tolerant once established, true to its rock garden heritage. For your design, let it cascade over the edge of a raised stone bed or retaining wall, where that golden spring display can spill dramatically over the hardscape. My tip: after the spring bloom fades, shear the plant back by about a third to keep the silvery foliage mound tidy and compact through summer, and to encourage the strongest possible bloom the following spring. Brilliant, cheerful, and a true rock garden classic. Basket of Gold announces spring in style. Now let's add a cheerful wildflower with a fitting name, with number 9. Number 9 brings cheerful, silky, vivid orange blooms and genuinely effortless drought tolerance to your rock garden. California Poppy. This easy, generous wildflower produces delicate, silky-petaled flowers, most famously in a brilliant, vivid orange, though soft yellows and creams exist too, held above finely cut, almost lacy blue-green foliage. Each flower only lasts a few days, but a healthy plant produces so many blooms in succession that it stays colorful for weeks on end, closing each evening and reopening fresh each sunny morning, a lovely little daily rhythm to watch for. As California's own state flower, it's built for exactly the hot, dry, rocky conditions a rock garden provides, thriving in full sun and lean, poor soil, and genuinely disliking rich soil or too much water, which can actually shorten its bloom and make it leggy. For your design, scatter it through the gaps between your larger rock garden plants, where its airy, silky blooms add movement and cheerful color without ever competing for space. My tip: California Poppy is wonderfully easy from seed, sown directly where you want it to bloom, and it self-seeds generously in the right lean, dry conditions, often returning year after year on its own without any effort from you at all. Cheerful, silky, and genuinely effortless, California Poppy adds vivid color to the stone. Now, for our 10th and final plant, the silver texture I promised you at the start. Here it is. And here it is, number 10, the soft, silvery texture I promised you, the one that ties an entire rock garden design together, Silver Mound Artemisia. This lovely perennial forms perfectly rounded, cushion-like mounds of the finest, softest, silvery gray foliage you'll find in the whole garden, genuinely feathery and touchable, almost like a small silver cloud settled among your stones. Unlike so many of our rock garden plants that are prized for flowers, Silver Mound earns its place purely through that extraordinary silvery texture and form, and it plays a genuinely important design role. That cool, neutral silver calms and unifies all the different colors around it, the golds, oranges, and reds of our other plants, exactly the way we discussed white and silver acting as peacemakers in an earlier video. It thrives in full sun and lean, well-drained soil, and it's remarkably drought-tolerant once established, true to its Mediterranean and prairie heritage. For your design, use it as a soft, rounded counterpoint among your spikier, more architectural rock garden plants. Tucked near your agave or blue fescue, that contrast of textures is exactly what makes a modern rock garden feel sophisticated and complete. My tip: if the center of the mound starts to open up or look a bit ragged by mid to late summer, especially in humid climates, simply shear the whole plant back hard. It responds beautifully with fresh, dense, silvery new growth. Soft, silvery, and the perfect finishing texture. Silver Mound Artemisia ties the whole rock garden together. Now let's bring it all together. And there you have it. 10 plants perfectly suited to a modern, low-water rock garden, from that fragrant creeping thyme filling the gaps between stones, all the way to that soft silver artemisia that ties the whole composition together. Combine a few of these with beautiful stone and gravel, and you'll have a front yard that looks genuinely sculptural and intentional, while using remarkably little water to keep it looking that way. Here's the design thought I'd love to leave you with. In a rock garden, restraint is your friend. Let the stone breathe. Let each plant have room to be admired as its own sculptural form, rather than crowding everything together the way you might in a traditional flower bed. That negative space is doing real design work, so tell me down in the comments, is your home the modern style I asked about at the start, or something else entirely? And which of these 10 rock garden plants are you most excited to try? Share it with your growing zone, and let's build your striking, low-water front yard together. And do go say a warm hello to a fellow modern garden lover down there in the comments. I do so enjoy seeing this little community explore every different style together. I've got more wonderful ideas coming your way soon, so make sure you're subscribed with that bell turned on so you never miss a video. Until next time, this is Eleanor. Keep your hands in the soil and your heart in the garden. Take care now. Bye-bye.